Hey guys, welcome back to Bixby's Beer Review. So happy to see you again. It's starting to get a little bit of a nip in the air out there. It's turning to fall, and so we're going to do a little bit of an interlude in our exploration of the many hops of the American craft beer scene. You know, we finished up the hashtag Next Five, so I wanted to do a hop that's both one of the most classic American craft beer hops with a beer that's a version of perhaps the most classic American IPA, at least where I come from. So today, from Bell's Brewery, we're checking out Double Two Hearted. Of course, that's the Imperial version of their regular Two Hearted Ale, a beer that perhaps more than any other one is the beer that set me on the path to loving craft beer. It's a beautiful American IPA, uses only Centennial hops, which is what we're checking out today. Double version's no different, just a little bit heftier, coming in at 11%. I had not checked out the double before. I've had more Two Hearteds than I'd care to think, and I've even had the light version of it, which I like as well, but this one might pack more pure Centennial hop power than any other beer out there. So let's crack it open, take a look. I believe that may be the first bottle opened beer we've had on the BBR. Certainly not going to be the last, though. It's all cans these days, but you got a few holdouts left, and I'm sure we'll find a few of them. So let's take a look. One thing you notice about this beer, it's significantly darker than some of the hazy IPAs we've been seeing. This beer is mostly two-row malt in the mash. I think there's a little bit of pale malt in there too. Nothing too extreme. I do know they use just a little bit of caramel malt for color, so that's probably why you're getting this rich orange color. But I tend to associate this orange with a lot of American IPAs, ones that aren't necessarily intensely West Coast or certainly hazy, just sort of the classic American IPA color, if you will. So that's what it looks like. Let's give it a smell. An incredibly intense and heady aroma. The biggest note that I get right off the bat and all the way through the first stick of the nose in there is grapefruit. You get grapefruit rind and also more of a sweet, fresh, ruby red grapefruit too. It sort of straddles that sweet and sour border that the grapefruit can bring to the party. Also, not an insignificant amount of sort of fresh flowers, almost an intense hothouse, tropical flower aroma. But it's a very intense bouquet of hops, and it's matched very well by a slightly caramelly sweet malt aroma. I think that we get so caught up in testing hazies that we tend to think of IPAs as equaling hops only and featuring hops. And that is largely true when it comes to the hazies. But when you have a classic American IPA, we're looking for more of a balanced character. And this one really delivers in terms of having that sweet malt note, which both accentuates the sweeter character of some of the grapefruit aromas and also gives some contrast to more of the kind of bitter, almost sour, rindy part of the grapefruit aroma from the hop. So well-balanced aroma. Let's give it a taste. So, like its lower ABV namesake, the Double Two Hearted delivers one of the things that I think is most important when it comes to a classic American IPA, and that is balance. And there are three components that are in perfect balance here. First off, again, it's an intensely hop-forward beer, so we're getting the same type of sweet, bitter, sour range of grapefruit flavors, supporting floral flavors, against something like a lotus, almost. If you ever smell a lotus blossom up close, it's very intense hop flavors, but they're balanced both by a very strong, slightly sweet malt backbone. The caramel malt, however much is in here, is playing a little bit of a role there, but mostly it's a solid, almost slightly biscuity or muffiny, slightly sweet malt body. And then lastly, an intense bitterness. I don't know how many IBUs are in here, but if it was three figures, I wouldn't be that surprised. It doesn't strip the enamel off your teeth or the flavor off your tongue because of the intense amount of flavor from the hops and the malt, but it's still something that cuts right through the sweetness of the malt and right through the heady cocktail of hop flavors to give you something balanced. And ultimately, I would say something almost medium bodied. It's not quite a dry finish like some West Coast IPAs have, but it's full bodied, but not too intense. And it achieves a perfect balance of three very intense and very well-used components here. So I haven't had an above 10% IPA in a long time, and I'm probably not, except for this one, for some time yet. But again, getting a little colder out there, so we got to start to look to the heavier beers that can get us through the winter. And I think, Two-Hearted, or in this case, Double Two-Hearted, is not a bad way to go. So thanks for checking this one out with me. Always enjoy seeing you. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Drop comments for beers you want me to review. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye now.